I'm honored to have Dr. Matthew Lynch join us in the EdTech Lounge. Dr. Lynch is a professor, author, advocate, and futurist, and founder of the Edvocate and the Tech Edvocate. He is consistently ranked as one of the world's top influencers in education and technology, and his magazine, The Edvocate, is seen by over 100,000 people per month. So welcome.
I'm honored that I'm able to do this interview with one of the influencers in education.
How did you get to this point?
I'm originally from the state of Mississippi. Well, during that time, I ended up getting my master's in education and also my doctorate. So after that, I'm like, wow, I really enjoy teaching, but I think there's a bigger purpose for me. At some point, I began to say, what's your ultimate goal? What's your ultimate dream? I started to really get burnt out. And since I had already started the Edvocate and the Tech Edvocate, I decided to do that along with some consultants full time. We want to be the largest provider of quality EdTech information and also P20 education information.
You said that a lot of contemplation was needed, to get to that point.
Mississippi, it's a very impoverished state. Economically, when it comes to the United States, it's always number 49, number 50. So instead of thinking, what job can I make the most money at? I decided to think, what job can I do the most good? And so education definitely came to mind because Mississippi also has one of the worst K-12 systems in the United States.
What are methods that people can use to better differentiate for the people of different cultures so that we have an education system that works for everyone?
Technology is in the unique position to help with some of the issues that we have in the world today. And education equity is one of those. School systems are able to provide these technologies to their students, to their teachers, and this kind of equalizes the education that everybody receives. We can start to bring in some of these students that don't feel like they're being educated by the mainstream Eurocentric way of teaching or learning or curriculum or deciding what's best as far as knowledge attainment.
Do you think we're going to see a point where education is free?
If you are a school system, you are definitely spending probably around maybe $1,000 or $1,500 per student just on textbooks, workbooks, supplies, and things of that nature. Technology has made it easier for school districts that are economically depressed to provide resources for their students. You would go ahead and get an E-rate for tablets or potentially laptops. If you do that, you can probably get an iPad for maybe a couple of $100. Also get a bulk rate or a discount rate or an E-rate on the different applications that you're going to need to drive that curriculum. So once you're done with that, per student, you shouldn't be out of more than $500. S. Dallas Dance, he is the superintendent of Baltimore County Public Schools. Instead of spending all this money with the big education publishers, I'm talking about McGraw-Hill, and I'm also talking about Glencoe, and I'm also talking about Pearson. Technology allows you to purchase those things for much cheaper. If you're thinking about an African-American or a Latino area or a white area where you have public housing projects, they call them.
Yeah.
You have a lot of school districts that are so forward-thinking. They are providing Wi-Fi for those public housing projects.
Wow.
They are actually placing Wi-Fi on their own school buses. Artificial intelligence is making it easier for teachers to do their jobs. I'll give you an example. There's a school district that I know of in Mississippi. All of a sudden, there were budget cuts, and instead of having herself and also a teacher's assistant in the classroom, all of a sudden it was just her. You have artificial intelligence programs that are not that costly that can teach students reading and writing or math and science, social studies. I think that it can serve as a virtual tutor or a virtual teacher or a teacher's assistant that can help students with these issues that they have.
Can you tell me a little bit about the policy side of things and what's being done for equality in that domain?
Whenever there's a large battle around Common Core or charter schools or something of that nature, I try to use my thought leadership, my writing. The last big fight that I remember being in was Mississippi wanted to test the idea of going the charter school route. And you had a lot of pushback from people in the state of Mississippi. So I did a lot of scholarship with Huffington Post and also Ed Week, meant to dispel a lot of the myths that were out there about charter schools and what they would do for Mississippi. So I'm glad that a lot of politicians such as Tate Reeves really read my information and started to disseminate it, started to share it. And I definitely think that it made a big difference when it came to the vote.
You wrote about a number of practices from the business world that could be applied to education. Have you found particular ones that work really, really well?
When I was a teacher, I really saw that a lot of the resources that they had were very scarce and very finite. And leaders just didn't really understand how to take those finances and make them stretch from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. So really teaching administrators just how to budget, how to allocate resources to the areas where they need it the most is definitely a message that I've been trying to push for years.
What are the things that you would typically prioritize first in terms of their budget and their spending?
Resources for students, whether it's school supplies or curriculum and things of that nature, because students are most important. Personnel, especially teachers and teachers' assistants and things of that nature. A couple of areas to where I see a lot of bloat and I see a lot of misspending would be everyday supplies, cleaning supplies, tissue, paper towels.
How do you maintain such an intense schedule, but also, what kind of conversations have you had as a result of, your presence online?
Twitter allows me to essentially get my information out to the masses in a real-time way. Really and truly, me doing it was kind of by happenstance. I just worked hard and people started to resonate with the stuff I was sharing and the stuff that I was placing on the Advocate. My quick thoughts about how neuroscience should be taught in teacher education. And I got a bigger response as far as social media is concerned from that article than I get from all of my articles in an entire month on Education Week.
Any particular challenges that you would do specifically allocate to, your being a minority?
I didn't think I was going to get that big of a response, but it's kind of like I wrote great content. I was authentic. I resonated with teachers, and I just got a big response from people of all races.
It's a real honor to have a chance to meet you in person and hear some of your perspectives just on education and ed tech.
Sounds great. Thanks.